United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So this meeting is called to order at 6:01 p.m. And I will do the roll call. Mary Smith here. Rob Connell not here, hopefully yet. Amanda Cooper will probably zoom in about 6:15. Alex Sassoon.
Yeah.
Dwayne Gazinski.
Here.
Rich Barrows.
Here.
Thank you. So we do have a quorum. Before we go on to our agenda approval, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of Ryan Zabel. Ryan was an incredible contributor to this community, a loss to all of us. As many of you know, we lost him in a motorcycle accident a week ago Friday, and I wanted to make sure that people who are online, or certainly people here, know that there are going to be services for Ryan at the Catholic Church in Idaho Springs at 10:30 on Friday. And on Saturday, there is going to be a celebration of life at City Park here in Georgetown from noon to 4 o'clock. So please feel free to attend those as you can. And what I'd like to do is have a moment of silence for him, a minute of quiet, so we can think about him. And of course, if you have any comments or things to say about him, I would suggest you come to the celebration of life on Saturday, so you'll have an opportunity to do that. Thank you. We'll begin. Thank you. I was just getting to know Ryan through the Hydro Task Force and found him to be a remarkable guy, very knowledgeable, very easy to work with, really wonderful. So thank you for that. So on the agenda for tonight's meeting, August 12th, 2025, any changes, additions, deletions to the agenda as presented?
Oh, two additions.
Yes.
That's okay.
Mhm.
I'd like to add item number 7, discussion on the county IGA for law enforcement services. And then also item 8, consideration of a declaration of a fire ban.
Fire ban.
Yes, please.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second, Rich.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. So we have added items 7 and 8. Audience business. We have people in the audience, but I think they're on the agenda also. Members of the audience have 3 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda. Letters will be acknowledged, but will not be read aloud. Do we have any audience comments? Keja, anyone online? No. None. We will close the audience business.
Madam Police Judge, I have one email communication.
Oh, yes, please read.
From Lauren Rose Bogard, dated July 31st. She wrote regarding multifamily housing inspections, and I submit that for inclusion in the record.
Can we please get copies of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Copies will go to the board. Is that what we just said?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have a payables report in front of us dated July 18 to August 7th. And I think in the agenda item title page, the dates need to be corrected at the bottom Q. Is that correct? The exhibit A dates?
Yeah.
Okay, so the exhibit A dates The bottom of the title page for this agenda item should reflect the dates on the attached payment approval report. Okay, any questions, comments, changes to the payables?
I appreciate the highlights, thank you.
What was highlighted?
Well, no, just
Oh, yeah,
some of the
okay, very good.
explanations.
Wonderful, thank you. So, do I have a motion to accept the payables as presented?
I make that motion.
Second? Was that you, Rich, Alex?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. So we have 3 sets of minutes in our packet to approve. The first set is from our scheduled board meeting of July 8, 2025. I believe that all edits have been made to these minutes. Is that correct, Kasia? I believe that's true.
For July 8th, I submitted some corrections earlier today to the town clerk.
And Bridget had said that they were all taken care of. Okay, so do I have a motion for the July 8th minutes to be approved as edited?
I'll make the motion to approve the July 8th meeting minutes as.
Edited. Second?
Seconded.
Okay, Alex, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. So those minutes are approved and accepted. The next set of minutes is from our special meeting dated July 15. And again, I believe there were edits made that were provided to Bridget that are reflected in what we have in our packet. Any additional comments or edits to those minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the July 15 amendments of this, minutes of the special meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay, those special meeting minutes are accepted. Lastly, we have the minutes from July 22nd. And again, those minutes were submitted with, and we came with some corrections and comments, which I believe Bridget made. Any additional comments or changes to those minutes?
I just questioned in the first paragraph that the meeting was hosted by our town clerk, yet she wasn't present for the meeting on that date, so I think she's got different verbiage that she has included when it's just, it's just included with that it's virtually via the board. I think it's just a misrepresentation to indicate that.
I think the other ones seem the same.
Yeah, the other ones, I believe is, the one from the 15th is a little bit, it doesn't
It's still different,
specify.
right?
So I
because it's a
think
special
since
meeting.
she wasn't here, present for the 22nd, it shouldn't indicate that it was hosted by the town clerk.
Any comment on that, Dennis?
No, that's correct. We'll change that.
Okay, and what should it be? What would it be changed to?
It would be,
Hosted by the town of Georgetown, whatever the,
Hosted by the town?
which is the meeting, it could say the meeting was streamed live via the town website as it has on the link, and then you just call the regular meeting.
Okay, so we'll just strike that, hosted by town clerk. Okay. Any other changes or comments? Do I have a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen minutes from July 22nd as just amended?
So moved.
Second,
Rich.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Those minutes are approved as corrected. The action items, we have the first one up is the Neil Duncan Trailway easement extension. You have in your packet a copy of the original right of way or the easement, also an extension. And Dennis, do you have any comments on that?
no, Terry is, there to describe this. This is that we're getting a jump start on renewal of this, extension. Jared, do you wanna describe this?
Absolutely. A few years ago, when the trail around the lake was completed all the way around the lake, which is a great amenity, I think everyone's really happy with that. There is a very small portion of that trail right at what I'll call the southeast corner of the trail, north being downstream in my world. I know we always have to say that here, that very southeast corner, there's a large house, I think it's kind of a log house,
Mhm.
green, shingle roof, I think. And, the Duncans own that property and the trail crosses a very small portion of their property, just as it makes the corner there. I think there's even some signage. And we negotiated, town negotiated an easement from the Duncans to maintain the trail in that location. It would have been difficult to, not impossible to, but to move the trail off of their property and it would have ended up closer to the lake in a way that just didn't work for the trail. So the present easement agreement, which is I wrote, and is very straightforward easement for trail purposes, pretty common. Expires I think February 26th. And Duncan's reached out to us a few months ago saying, hi, we'd like to get this extended. Can you get it on an agenda? And it's a little unusual, but commendable for an easement grantor to reach out like that. Usually in the other position, it's getting close and we're worrying about getting it extended, but they've asked for it to be extended. They provided a draft. I did a couple of corrections to their draft. It mentioned city and something about franchise, so that was inappropriate, but I made those changes. It's in the packet and I recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions? I had a question about why it's not a permanent easement.
They weren't comfortable with it being permanent as
Okay.
it was originally granted. And it may be that in the year 2028, when this amendment then requires, we'll be in a position of renewing again, or for whatever reason. And it was their property, and I think in part, I'm imagining this, but in part, I'm thinking that they probably just want to see, how does this go? How's this going? You know, is the public use of that becoming a problem, or
Right.
getting off the trail and getting on their private land? I think there's signage saying not to. I haven't been there now. But as the underlying property owner, I think I'd have that reasonable concern. Want a little bit of a track record of behavior.
Right.
It might well be appropriate at the 2028 expiration to ask if they want to make it permanent.
Right, why not?
Town can't force them to, short of condemning the property. So at the moment, it's a good relationship and I would recommend we get it done and then it's in place for another couple of years.
Very good, thank you.
Mhm.
Do I hear a motion to approve the extension?
I move to approve the extension of the easement agreement between the town of Georgetown and the Duncan Family Trust.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, that is passed.
That claims.
Sorry?
Yes.
Okay. Next action item is the marketing and events manager job description. And Dennis, I'm assuming you want to comment on that?
Yes, thank you. As standard practice, we have a vacant position with the town. And as standard practice, we like to take that opportunity to review our job descriptions for those positions. We placed this before the BPC to ask for their input on the job description. They suggested a couple of minor changes, and you see those on the red line that's been included in your packet. And so we're asking for the board's approval of the recommended changes so that we can post this position at the recommended pay rate and try to get some applications going so we can start interviews for this position.
Thank you.
I had a question on how that budget works. For the commission and the.
You mean the position, how do they get?
Yeah,
paid?
in that position and. I'm not sure quite how all that works.
The BPC's budget is funded by lodging tax. And so every year the BPC, and it's coming up pretty quick, they will begin to look over their proposed budget to recommend to you, the Board of Selectmen. And if they recommend funding this position in that budget, you will see that proposal come to you for consideration.
There's also a portion of, that comes from the business licenses
Mhm.
that channels into.
You know,
that fund.
that's how it worked when it was part-time or something, right?
Correct.
But it is a town staff position.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So my only concern is the salary range. And I don't know if we necessarily need to get too involved in this right now. I see what was deleted according to your red line copy. So so now the range is actually lower than I'm assuming what had been offered 2 years ago. So I'm wondering how we are on a competitive scale, not expecting answers right here. Throwing this out for perhaps some research and whether the salary for our recently former employee, had there been a, some type of COLA increase, and so, what were we paying her on a yearly basis? Because I think we should be proactive in recognizing the going rate, and then by the time someone gets into place, we're probably darn close to 2026. So,
Yes, let me explain. The 29,862 that you see here per hour was not what the past person was making. This was the number that is the midpoint of the two that you see here.
okay,
So I inserted that as the starting salary that we desire that person to be at. And then Kasia said, Dennis, maybe we should have a range. So I deleted it while I was still on tracking and then put these other two in. So this would represent the midpoint. The way that I got to the midpoint was this 2962 comes from a comp study that Greg's son performed when he was the interim. And he took the starting salary of that position and then did a comparison using Colorado Municipal League numbers and updated it using COLA. And I took that number, I think it was
61.
61. Yes, I took that divided by 80 hours per year and got 2962. And then I used that as a midpoint, went up 5% to get 31,006 per hour and down 5% so that I could get a range for starting. So we would have a negotiation window for whoever the applicant was.
So when I did the simple math on the range, we're talking somewhere between 58,000 and 64,000
That's
for the
correct.
salary. But so, I appreciate the information from the salary study that Greg had performed. However, was that based on the position being the coordinator and not the manager? Because I know there were some
Yes,
conversation at BPC in regards to that, and there is a possible inference that there's a different level there. So I just want to make sure that we're,
yes, there
On
was,
top of that.
there was no science involved in the switch from coordinator to manager, as you are aware.
So the salary may not reflect the manager level.
Correct,
Okay, gotcha.
but it is more than what the previous person was
Making.
making at the time.
it's a start.
Correct,
Exactly.
And when we find the right person for the job,
it may be
it
higher,
may be higher.
yes.
One
That's
doesn't.
fantastic.
So any other questions
Thank you for your practice.
on the job description? Any other comments, changes?
I appreciate the data policy.
I move to approve the marketing events manager job description as presented.
Second, Rich.
All right, all those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, very good. The job description motion has passed.
Before we leave that
Yes.
item, one other thing I would ask you to do connected with that interview process is to nominate one person from this board to serve on the interview panel. The BPC has nominated Mr. Abramson to serve from the BPC. The police judge is already on that panel, but one person from the Board of Selectmen.
Didn't we just make Amanda kind of that?
So I might just recommend something. Maybe we want somebody who's never been on the BPC. Does it matter? Is it important?
I thought she was on your employee committee,
Right, otherwise you end up. having
whatever
a
we
person or-
entitle it, and so. In personnel and,
Yeah.
so would it not make sense to at least ask her if she is interested and then have it open to everyone else just for some
Sure.
consistency?
That's certainly your prerogative. I'm just asking for somebody to fill out
Otherwise, I'm
that
on it.
fourth spot.
I would say Amanda's good.
You know, I love doing it.
Are we all in agreement that Amanda would suit? Okay,
Okay, great, thank you.
thank
Makes it
you.
easier, she's not here to.
Yeah.
I know, you can't defend yourself.
That's how.
That's how I'm supposed to work.
Okay, action item number 3 in your packet, we have a request from the Clear Creek County Advocates, and they are here. We have Chris Gold representing the advocates and Allison Knotts as a supporter of Chris. And so, Chris, thank you very much. Welcome.
Well, thank you all very much for having me, and thanks to Keisha for the help. Agenda. For those who don't know me, my name is Chris Gould. I'm a longtime resident of Plum Creek, graduate from the high school back in the day. And most recently, I was principal out there. As I was principal at Clear Creek Middle and High School, I had the opportunity to join the board of directors for the Clear Creek Advocates. And then for the last 2 years, I've served as the president. And so in that work, became committed to the work of the advocates because I saw the impact that it had on the students. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about that here in a moment, but the reasons for me being in front of you tonight are, number one, to make sure that this body and Georgetown in general is aware of the services and support that the advocates provide. Second thing is to let you know about some of the changes that we're going through right now. And then the third thing is to ask for some support from the town of Georgetown. So to get this rolling, advocacy for victims is required by state statute. And that is usually performed through law enforcement. Down in the metro area, law enforcement agencies will have their own advocate on staff. We are unique here in Clear Creek. We have a community-based advocacy system, organization here. That is a few counties here in Colorado, but not very many. That gives us some different opportunities from what a law enforcement-based advocacy would have. With law enforcement, the focus is on victims' rights and making sure that any victims of crime have some help and guidance going through the legal and criminal process. Whether that's going to court, whether it's sexual assault, interview, that sort of thing. Because we are not just law enforcement, but community-based. Part of that, what that means is that we coordinate with all law enforcement and support all residents of Clear Creek County and visitors. Excuse me. So we're working with the Sheriff's Office. We're working with Idaho Springs PD, Empire PD, and in the past, we've also worked with Georgetown. We're working with all of the residents throughout the county, Evergreen side, and then up the I-70 corridor. And then, of course, any visitors that we have, tourists, whatever, who may get into some sort of victim situation here in Clear Creek. This organization started as the domestic violence support back in the late 80s, and then morphed over time to provide this victims advocacy. So when you are in a law enforcement situation, you have an advocate that's based in law enforcement. They will only do that very limited amount, and usually it is in reaction to the events that happened, the crime, and then extends to that court period. As a community-based program, we seek out funds that can help some of our victims longer term to get out of a situation, because domestic violence is still at the heart of the work that we do. It may be helping a family to get a better situation away from whoever the abuser is. It may be helping somebody get a car that's broken down, going again so they can get to a safe place, getting legal help, that sort of thing. And so, especially in Clear Creek, where resources are not always easy to find, it helps that we can sometimes provide some of those resources and some of that funding that people need to try to get a better situation in life. The other thing that our advocates will do is connect victims to other resources such as mental health through JCMH or chat, that sort of thing. So lots of opportunity to give people some help in their worst moments. On top of that, we're building some prevention. Specifically through the middle school and high school, we have a new program starting that we've gotten grant money for. where we're training some peer educators through the advocates to be able to help their fellow students as they're dealing with their issues. So lots of things, and just some very little bit of perspective, but it's the number I can pull up quickly. In the last that year, a little over a year, there were 17 calls from the sheriff's office that led our advocates to Georgetown residents. But that's only part of how we get those calls. Sometimes it's other referrals that may happen through Department of Human Services, whatever other, a neighbor who sees something and knows somebody needs help. So lots of ways that we get on the radio, people on our radar. And Joni Albers was the executive director of the Advocates for many, many years. And she left in, what was it, 2023, I believe, fall of 2023, left the organization, retired. And so we had a little bit of a challenge as we got an executive director. It didn't quite work out, for her. And so in April of 2024, we got our current executive director, Kat Foreman. And so that's been a big change for us as we kind of navigated those troublesome waters without an executive director. But she's been really going. We hired her to make some changes to the organization, to update the way that we operate, to help us with more public awareness of how we help people in some of the issues that we deal with. So she's working on that. And then in addition to that, fundraising will be something that she works on. So so we're getting there. Coming out of COVID was tough. COVID was a really difficult time. It gives a hit to our volunteer base. Volunteer advocates are a big piece of what has helped us to support the county, the victims within the county. So one other change that I just want to make you aware of, we've been in the office in the DA's office building there behind the community center, been in the basement of that. But because of the concerns around what's happening with the county and as they assess the buildings that they have and what they decide to do with those, we have sought out other office space so that we're not all of a sudden losing our office space. So now we're off, our office is downtown. But that won't change the work that we do up here and the connection that we'll have. So I have with me Allison Knotts, who is a Georgetown resident and recently came on the board back in the spring. And so I just wanted to give her a moment to speak up from her perspective as a new board member and being in Georgetown, to see if she has a few words to say, and then we'll move on from there.
Thank you, Chris. Many of you know me, I'm Allison Knotts. I moved here in 2021. I've been involved in a lot of really great community projects, and I joined the board of the Clear Creek Advocates, I believe in March, so it has been still earning my stripes here, but it's been a very inspiring work that I personally, something that has been extremely meaningful for me just in a short period of time to work alongside Chris and Kat and the rest of our board. So I will just speak to, I'll let Chris keep going because you're saying so much of what I want to say, but as a resident of Georgetown, I've seen firsthand just how the Clear Creek Advocates is creating a stronger, healthier, safer community in a very immediate way. Like Chris has said, like our organization is already here. We're responding to critical incidences, at very scary, violent moments in people's lives. And doing that with the vision of creating a safer community. So I think the banner that I'm gonna fly is an investment, and the Clear Creek Advocates is an investment in our neighbors' dignity and safety and just long-term sustainability. And I truly believe that's something that no community can afford to do without. So yeah, keep going, Chris, and thank you for having me, and yeah.
She mentioned the investment, the one of the things that I'll just mention is it's not just about for our community-based organization. It's not true in a law enforcement-based advocacy. But for community-based, we help out not just when it's a crime. Our victim or our advocates will go out if there's a structured fire, they can support. If there's a suicide, they can support. If there's a death notification that needs to happen, our advocates will often take that on. So there are lots of ways that we provide that support, and so there is an investment piece.
Thank you.
As far as the functioning, do you have any questions about?
Any questions for Chris or Allison?
I
Who
mean,
else is on your board?
so we have, for law enforcement, we have Sean Skates, who's Sheriff's Office. We have Chief Busick, from Idaho Springs, and then Chief Lorenz up in, Empire. We have then, Donna Klein, who is she's been an advocate, a volunteer advocate, yep. We have Amy Howerton and, Alice and myself.
And how many volunteers do you have outside of the board? Like responders,
You know, who are the advocates?
well, you don't have to tell me who they are,
Yeah, but how many?
because I know I know the growth and the demise and the regrowth. but-
Right.
So approximately how many volunteers do you have?
Right now, our volunteer, we only have 2 volunteers.
Okay,
We
volunteers, counselors, let's say.
yes, we have 2 volunteer advocates. As people have moved away, it's been tough to bring people in the wake of COVID. But we do have some people, and that's one thing that I would ask, is if you know people that might be good advocates, please get in contact with us. And we've got some contact information at the bottom of this one pager. And Kasia has it digitally as well.
Thank you.
What's the volunteer process? So I know that's changed for a lot of organizations and nonprofits.
Right.
But so many hours of training,
Yeah.
onboarding, what do you guys do?
The tricky part is it starts with even assessing, is this a good fit? Because as you can imagine, what people don't want is somebody who's then going to be triggered by the work. There's a lot of nasty stuff that happens, and it's a hard job to be, especially as a volunteer. One of the things this board has done, Cat, as she moves forward, trying to woo some more advocates, some more volunteers, is offering on-call stipend. So it's not totally volunteer, but it's a way that we can express our appreciation, but also acknowledge that it's a tough job. So, but we do have training that goes, and that's audited by the state. So it's not just us kind of throwing something down. So the request that I'll make is, we've gone to other municipalities and asked for their support. Here's the fortunate thing, we're not asking for operational funds, we're not asking for tens of thousands of dollars from the cities to make the advocates go. We work by grants, and while grants are always iffy on what we'll get, for right now, at least, we're in good shape as far as grants. But we have requested funds, some support from the municipalities and the county with the in Clear Creek. A couple of reasons. Number one, it helps us in our grant writing to say our cities are behind us and are supporting the work that we do. Second thing is, through those grants, they are very much restricted funds. It's very limited what we can do with those funds. And so when it comes to helping people who they just need first month's rent in order to get into a new place, we can help with that because of some donations, that sort of thing. So, so as you enter your budget season, what my ask would be is, knowing that I know it sounded like you're gonna be talking about whether it's the sheriff's office agreement or if Georgetown is gonna have their own professional or police department. But say you decide for the police department, you don't have to worry about paying somebody to do the advocacy work that is required by state law, because we're taking care of that. And so in doing that, we're asking for the cities to give us, a little help so that we have more resources to put to our residents when they're in need. So any questions about that request?
What is that amount?
Idaho Springs, now for this year, they've given $5,000.
Okay,
Empire, given the size, has given 1,000. So just to give you a kind of an idea.
yeah, range, sure, thank you.
Where it's been. So, whatever you can give us would give us more money that we can use to help them.
Thank you, thank you.
Historically, have you looked at what is the cost of each case?
No, we haven't, and as a board member, I don't have a clue because one thing I didn't mention, is the strict confidentiality that our advocates are held to. It's not just confidentiality as dictated by us as a board. This is state statute that says that they must operate in confidential, totally confidential ways. So I could have my executive director do something like that, but I don't have that, and it changes. It's so variable. We have people who are visitors here, come through, something happens, they're camping. Dad hauls off and beats mom sort of thing, and that may be a relatively low cost. Because they don't live here, so there's less of that ongoing. Versus somebody who's here and who are seeing time and time again and trying to help them get out of it. So it is very broad as far as those impacts.
Thank you, Chris, any other comments or questions for?
No, but thanks for coming out in a timely fashion as we
Very
begin our budget process. That's
Yeah.
always helps.
Always helps, and thank you for the work that you're doing. It's
Yeah.
really wonderful to know that you're out there. So thank you.
Yep,
Chris, and
please contact us with questions, concerns.
we will,
All right.
appreciate it.
And a check.
Thanks, Chris.
So.
Thank you, guys.
Motion as presented here,
I'll make the motion.
and second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Aye, there you are, there's Amanda, okay, thank you. And the motion is passed, thank you, so we will be considering that in our budget process, and we'll get back to you on an amount.
All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Our fourth agenda item is consideration of ordinance number 7, which is the historic landmark district. And this is the first reading. So we're gonna have a second reading set up for August 26th. You have that documentation before you, and I see Cindy Neely is here. So Cindy, would you like to speak to this? Or is it Dennis? Would you like to comment on this?
Nope, Cindy's here
There you go, the DRC.
I didn't know I was here to speak to this,
Well,
but
you don't have to if you just want to make a comment on this.
it is very, the town of Georgetown is a certified local government, in the, every discipline has its own jargon. And, historic preservation certainly has theirs. The certified local government means that the government up above you has said that they are willing to share their authorities, in your particular field. And in order to do that, the government up above them has said that that is okay for them to do. So essentially, in the National Historic Preservation Act, they possible state historic preservation offices, state historic preservation offices make certified local governments. At each level, you can have the historic registry. And you can make it a local designated. These buildings are considered to be important locally. And that's what we're talking about in this ordinance. In Georgetown, things happened essentially from the top down. The federal government came along in 1961 and looked around, and in 1966, they happily announced to the town that it was a National Historic Landmark District. It did not rise up from the bottom. But as then, that was even before there was national legislation. So when the national legislation comes along, our state historic preservation officer gets handed the fact that he's already got some landmark districts. Over the years, as landmark district, well, as historic districts became more common throughout the United States, the idea that the communities, the jurisdictions inside or who had districts inside their jurisdictions would like a little more say in the national and state process, and the whole idea of certified governments and local designations. There always could have been local designations for a town anyway, but that a local designation could fit into this entire process and make a particular site or structure eligible for some of the benefits that might come down the pike for being labeled historically designated. In this state, there are some serious benefits to being labeled a historic site. We have a state historic fund. And in order for you to get grants from that fund, you have to be designated. But it can be designated at any level. So even a local designation would qualify you to be an applicant for state historic funds. Likewise, Colorado has a preservation tax credit. And it's funded for the next 5 years, so it may actually survive for a while. And for residents and for commercial buildings, we have a state credit for improvements, and the improvements actually don't have to be a total restoration. It's interesting because they also will pay for loss of rehabilitation and adaptive use expenses. So it became important, and many of the certified local governments, there are over 30 certified local governments in Colorado. At this point, Idaho brings us a certified local government. Licking County has never chosen to be, but all the counties around us are certified local governments, and most of the municipalities, city, any place that has a history like a record or landfill, they're all and most of them have adopted and similar ordinance to this. As a matter of fact, when the DRC started talking about this, we went online and we asked the state, who has an office for certified local governments, who else has a historic designation? They said, well, there are about, I've forgotten the number, 15 or 16 of them out there, and the communities that are closest to yours, one of them was Lake City, and quite frankly, this ordinance is heavily borrowed from Lake City, because on the read of it, it made a great deal of sense. Part of this was stirred by the fact that the Catholic Church would like to be designated. And because its exterior was changed greatly in 1955, we can't get it on the state register. But because it does represent Catholic history in this town, which started in 1866 and 65, I mean, they had the first school here, they had the first hospital here, they had the first large church here, and they have been continuous through all of this period of time. So they do meet a criteria, but at the state level, if your building doesn't meet it, they don't, anyway. It can become a local designee, and that was the thing that actually stirred the DRC looking at this, but then thinking that it could be a useful tool in the future. Because any structure over 50 years old can be under consideration if its property owner wanted it to be under consideration. And actually, the Chateau Chamonix got a local designation, which years ago, which the DRC granted without any ordinance, without anything, so I'm not sure that it's actually valid. But but they've got a little plaque on the wall, because we went through our Swiss period, and the Swiss period of the revival scheme was, it's the sort of thing, and we have a house or two that's like that. So that's what's in front of you, is the establishment of a Georgetown register. I think you've got a red line in there that
Yeah, we
make
do.
sure that it says Georgetown. The other odd thing about it is we sort of filled the proper outline form in one place and took out the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s and put in A, B, C, D, and E.
Yep.
That is because the criteria for registers is the same at all the levels of government. And this is the same criteria as to get on the national.
Okay,
And in historic press speak, everybody knows what criterion A is, or criterion B is, or criterion C is. Oh yeah, that one, meets criterion E, and so yes, we can consider it. So for us to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, when actually we're using the same criteria, it would help. If a person is locally designated and for any reason wants a state designation, they already know, they've already got their homework done. If they've done it locally. So that's the two sort of significant changes. This is the DRC can recommend a structure or a site. But it does require the property owner to say that yes, they think that's a correct.
thank you.
This ordinance does.
So being the groundskeeper and volunteer maintenance guy at the Catholic Church,
That new Catholic church.
That new one.
yes. So that would then could be designated as a structure,
It could be designated.
even with the modifications.
Historic designation under criteria, I believe.
Okay.
B, no, we don't.
Yeah, actually, I think it is, because it's something, it doesn't represent an architectural style, then it represents a.
What's its connection to?
A social significance,
Right.
and it does represent that. I mean, I don't
Item
understand
D,
why.
I think. Possibility to yet
But this opens that building up for a local designation, is
Yes.
what we're saying.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it does.
So like if we wanted to put a wheelchair ramp in there and
Yes.
door with all the, if we get all the designations and all that, that would be possible.
Now you know exactly who brought this up at DRC.
I do, 'cause I
And
brought
why
it up with
he brought
Bob.
it up at DRC, and he said, isn't this possible to do? Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yeah, it is, but it also it's a tool. I don't expect us to end up with a long register, we have a forever long register of things that are contributing to a national landmark district. But as time goes on and we build other things. I mean, our library, for example, is not on that register, that's why we're doing another little register, which you will hear more about too.
You brought that other one to us though a few months back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
There was an odd
It's
name to it.
a national registered district inside a national historic landmark district.
Right.
So this one would be similar too though, except now you're making it more of a living document because you're
Local designation.
you're stating the 50 years, so obviously the mark is gonna move
Yeah.
as it goes on, but it's also at a person or owner's request as opposed to our national district here where it's more mandated.
Right.
Yeah, so if someone didn't want theirs, even though it could comply, they don't have to, and
Yeah,
so they don't have to be a contributing structure under the new.
no, yeah, but, and this is for individual, the one we're putting up is a district.
Right.
And for the way the preservation looks at it, is a district, as long as more than 50% of things want to be in the district, you can create the district. And then it has contributing things to its district.
Can you
This
undo it?
is an individual kind of, this is a one at a time kind of designation.
Can you undo it if it's been designated and then it's sold and the new owner wants it?
Not usually in sale of it, if somebody does,
Or were they?
alter their house to the, or to their structure or to whatever, you know, if we're, changing the Catholic Church into opposite kind of thing, to do a whole thing. Then, if it takes away the criteria for which it was this.
Designated.
And that's addressed in the
That's a
ordinance.
six,
If your question is about this process. which
yes,
Probably the dialogue ought to be about, if there's a revocation of designation. Opportunity in section 110, it's toward the end of this ordinance.
it's written in.
If historic properties have been altered to a degree, no longer retaining historic integrity, the owner can apply for a revocation.
And likewise, your certified local government commission can revoke it if it is, so,
If something happens.
if
That's not expressed in this
No.
ordinance.
No, it is not.
And I think one of the things we probably should be clear on is the kind of the intersection between the system that's being proposed in front of the board here tonight and the degree to which the designation made under this ordinance can be revoked by others. Unless you tell me different, I have to say designation made under this system is a designation made under this system.
Yes.
It stays until it's revoked under this system.
Yeah.
We've been talking about 2 or 3 different kinds of systems, but at some point,
Yeah.
the board's discussion may have to be, well, what about this ordinance?
I'm just concerned what the implications and consequences could be, because we certainly. If you're a historic contributing structure as stands now, this aside, there are limitations as what can be done. And so this is, I can see, is ultimately broadening that. And as that occurs, and that's why I asked if there's going to be limitations on what can be done because you want to protect the building, the site, the reason for it being, et cetera, et cetera. And so.
But this is voluntary, right? The
Well, it's
person.
voluntary because I choose to.
Right, you
put my
choose to
house,
do
even
it,
though my
right.
house isn't old enough yet because it was born in the Great Dead era and it's not 50 years old yet, it's getting close. But somebody comes down the line
Right,
and after that designation and doesn't want the constraints for that.
Well, let me try to answer that question, because I understand. the
Okay.
question. Right now, the way this is written, I've written them for other cities where once you're designated locally, there are constraints on alterations, renovations, etc. This ordinance stops short of that. It just says, here are the criteria for getting designated, if you want to get designated, and good for you. And the value, as Cindy points out, is then you're eligible to apply for grants. I served for 20 years on the State Historic Society's Grant Fund Review Commission. I think so did Cindy. With Cindy. And the point is that yes, then that's a local designation. And let's say now I've got this local designation, I own your house, I've got this local designation. And I apply for a grant. The terms of that grant may well constrain what I do. But I went into that with my eyes open, and I don't have to say yes to the grant. To say yes to the grant, it comes with whatever conditions are placed on it. Absent that though, or absent some grant related condition, this ordinance at least doesn't place any constraints on the future owner's use of the property. Now, I will say that if the future owner, you know, completely changes the whole facade, etc., it's quite likely no longer eligible, or it should be.
Disqualified.
It's a designation that really ought to be revoked.
It doesn't take the place of, the restraining, ordinance in this town, the restraining thing is the design review. And that's to everybody in regular, anyhow. But it, you know, to come to the commission with a, to essentially demolish a historic status, I would think that you would have a different kind of conversation than if you didn't have that status. It doesn't mean that you know, that you can't do it.
Right, it's just that you might lose your status, right? That's what this says in 1710-110. The revocation of designation, it can be revoked by the owner or by the DRC. So is that right? Is that how I'm
It
reading
doesn't
this?
technically say,
Just by the owner.
just by the
What-
owner.
Well, the
Cindy's-
DRC can recommend.
Well, no, what I think Cindy's saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, is, okay, I've got this designation. I'm the church, for example, I get the designation. I don't apply for some grant, maybe I do, but the point is now I wanna make a change. And any change, whether you're designated or not, is gonna go to DRC, right? So now I'm in front of the DRC, and the DRC says, you know, your house is more than just a house, it's also a house that you proceeded to get a historic designation on. And that really is gonna figure in our review of your application. Now, that's something that I, as the owner, kind of embraced. I went out and got the designation, you know, and that necessarily carries with it.
You can
Not-
sit there and say, I wanna revoke it, and
Yeah.
there's no way to stop you from revoking it.
Yeah,
Right.
But it takes down barriers for you to apply for.
Yeah.
Exactly. For grants.
Just want the conversation to be had, I'm not opposing this. I think it's good that we're broadening the opportunities, but there could be consequences that we should just be aware of.
Yeah, it is very different for the districts though, because they are a different process.
with respect to this process, though, and I keep bringing this back to what's in front of the board tonight, which is just this. I do wanna pass Cindy, and as usual, you write the thing, Cindy provided the Lake City ordinance to me, and I put it into Georgetown format. I cut out a lot of stuff that wasn't necessary. Cindy and I went back and forth to produce this version. I'm looking, Cindy, at the section at 1710-040, and I can read it to you, I know you don't have it in front of you. But it's who can apply, you file the application with the town clerk. And the application can be made by the owner, a member of the DRC, or number 3, other interested persons with the property owner's approval. And that's what it says now, and that caught my eye. And am I right in thinking that it's fine for DRC to make the an application? But that no application should move forward without the consent of the owner.
Right.
Yes,
Is that our intention?
yes, it does say that, some.
Well,
places it
not
does.
Not
very
quite
hard
here.
to- It says, here's what it says. A nomination for listing may be made by A, the owner of the property, B, a member of the design review commission, or C, other interested persons with property owner approval. That implies the only time, if I'm the property owner and I'm not the one applying, and DRC applies, they don't need my,
Oh, yeah, it
permission.
said it.
it doesn't, I've got it right in front of me.
Like Jerry's,
I think it's implied, but it's not.
Response to make sure that
Yeah.
definition applies to both.
but I don't think we should work on an implication or an
That's correct.
interpretation, I think it
That's
needs to be
correct.
stated that the
Explicit.
owner needs to.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's written, you know, there's a new number, letter C, and it says, other people with owner consent, the owner consent isn't hooked up to.
No, that
And
was
it needs
even
to
what the DRC has
Okay,
talked about.
uh,
The DRC, when they said that what they wanted to have was there could not be done, when we reviewed the draft of it as the DRC, yeah, we changed the numbers
Yeah.
into letters, but we said, okay, this whole thing requires an owner's permission, so, and I thought that was gonna come to you.
It's not, it's not,
Explicit.
well, the owner approval was injected, but I have to tell you, the way that sentence was structured,
Yeah.
it really is
We
limited to
didn't
just,
structure that.
We can rewrite.
we can fix it.
Yeah.
I want to make it, because that's so important to the board and was important to this discussion, I want to make a little
Yeah,
record
oh,
of it.
yeah, yeah.
and Get it done on,
That was what was intended. I mean,
Perfect.
no, I
we'll
didn't
get it
see that.
Yeah,
Get
that
it
can
done
be
on first
clarified.
reading, so that we don't have to be putting a Band-Aid on second reading.
No.
Okay.
Could I clarify my understanding of some verbiage? A register,
Register.
can we define what type of register that is? I mean, is it,
Where you?
Does it
can you point the
involve-
word? Oh,
well, it
definition.
doesn't matter, I'm talking, you know, a register would be maintained of these various properties
Right,
by the town clerk.
yes. Within the town, yes.
Right. Would that also include some form of plaque for the
It-
property?
We, historic Georgetown, as a matter of fact, has been the one, you know, you see some of the plaques on the houses.
Yes.
with the dates. That comes from the Register of Contributing Structures. The town did not supply those plates, but they said anyone who can. Historic Georgetown volunteered to be the place that people could go to. And the owners get their plate, they pay for their plates, but they can only get a plate if they can provide the paperwork that shows that the house is on the current registry. And yes, there is a current registry of contributing structures to the National Historic Landmark District.
Pertinent to your question, Alex, there is a section in the ordinance 1710-090 records, town clerk shall maintain a current record of all historic properties and pending designations under consideration or approved. So there is an obligation on the town.
It's
That
1710.
Let's see.
It's this one. Right before the last page.
Right, but my point about asking this question is. If a plaque is going to be applied to a house. There should be some form of regulation for size and what is involved. I mean, what I can see as a plaque is a useful thing from a touristic point of view
But all
of
of our,
interest.
private property, residential plaques, if you notice the date plaques, yes, they are all, yeah, there was a whole plaque program that was agreed upon, and that, boy, that goes back, because if you look at this building, you have the very first of the plaque, of the early plaques, it was 1950s, that somebody did, I think, 11 of the historic buildings. And then when the landmark district came along, the commercial buildings have a plaque that describes them. There was a whole plaque program that was adopted by this town prior to when historic Georgetown started saying, well, it was sort of at the same time that historic Georgetown said, yes, they would be the ones that would help with the ordering of the residential
But
plaque.
all the plaques are uniform is what you're saying.
Yes,
Yeah, all the plaques are uniform.
Here's a plaque right here, because I'm at home.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, there it is.
That's, yeah.
So all the residential ones, that's the one that, on my house, that looks like that too.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes,
Here is my
And-
plaque.
yes.
And that's what, yeah, that was the standard, the plaque program, boy, you're asking me to remember.
Well,
What date I was in at that point.
So you wanna know that they're uniform, right?
Yes.
Yes, you wanna know that they're uniform, so I think, are there any other questions on this for Cindy or for Jerry?
There's a motion, I think, in the packet, but you'll want to add, whoever makes the motion, to approve the ordinance with the correction of section 1710-040B to require property owner approval of all nominations.
I'll give that a shot. I move to approve ordinance number 7, series 2025 on first reading. With the addition, correction on 1710-040B. That it has to be under property owner's recommendation,
Property owner consent.
What is that?
Second. Right, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you, Cindy, thank you so much. Off the cuff and off the fly, you always know A to Z.
Because you said you didn't come for that.
I know, thank you, thank you very much.
And that is peachy. I thought I was this.
There's chocolate over here.
such a good talker.
There's chocolate over here.
Or a slice.
Or Reese's peanut butter, that is what's right, your payment for all of your work. So moving on to agenda action item number 5, this is consideration on first reading of BPC ordinance number 6. You have all of this data in your packet, and Dennis, I'll let you go ahead and speak to this item.
Okay, the original amendment was recommended to the board some time ago, and it's gone to the BPC twice now. The BPC asked for some clarification at their first meeting when they reviewed this. And the staff has suggested some clarification language to the board. They went back to the BPC and we had a meeting about that as well. And during that discussion, it also came to light that the Business Promotion Commission ordinance has a unique stipulation and restriction on spending. That was also suggested that spending section be deleted to bring the ordinance in line with all the other boards and commissions. So you see before you a final recommendation for approval on first reading, and I'll highlight the 3 changes. With regard to the spending section, deleting a portion of 504-110, and keep in mind that on first reading, Jerry has looked this over for the substance and has approved the suggested changes. He will then format this into a final format for you to approve on second reading, so the format will be improved. Deleting portion of 504-110, removing section A, spending restrictions that are unique to the BPC. You can see that under the red line version. I have that in front of you. Okay, let me get it. After the word promotion of the town, deleting section and shall authorize no expenditures over $500 without the approval of the Board of Expenditures of not more than $500 may be approved by any 2 selectmen in the town treasurer. Basically, this section restricted the BPC from spending any money without the approval of the BPC. By deleting this section, it allows for expenditures of funds with the signature of the town administrator up to $10,000. Anything above that has to go before the BPC. This is the same.
You mean
person. I'm Board of Selectmen, I'm sorry. I'm trying to hustle because of the other issues that are still on the agenda. I'm sorry, I'll slow down. And so then this would bring it in line to allow for the spending with our current purchasing policies. The second item is the removing direction and supervisory responsibility for the marketing events coordinator position from the BPC and assigning to the town administrator in alignment with the charter as was outlined by Jerry's memo that is included in your packet. This was the original proposal change for the ordinance. And then the third one was the added clarification requested by the BPC that outlines specific support items for the BPC from staff, and that's added after section KL. That starts with the town administrator shall provide staff support for the Business Promotions Commission, BPC, in the fulfillment of its responsibilities related to its promotion, business promotion, marketing, and event planning. And you see that there are specific items that are listed out there. Those come from the original ordinance creating the BPC. And then we like to throw in the catch-all phrase at the bottom that says that the town administrator shall ensure that this support is delivered in a timely, professional, and effective manner consistent with the goals and objectives of the BPC. So the BPC saw this discussed it and recommended its approval on first reading this evening.
Any questions or comments on this?
Thanks for working through this, Dennis.
You're welcome. It was a good discussion, and I think that, in taking the extra time to do this and discuss it with the PPC, we got the best product out of, the amendment.
Thank you. So do I hear a motion to recommend this ordinance on first reading, to approve the ordinance number 6 on first reading?
I move to approve ordinance number 6 on the first reading and scheduled for second reading on August 26, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Amanda. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That item is carried. Thank you. So we now have agenda item number 6 before us. This is consideration of the budget calendar. This is the calendars in your packet. Any comments or color to be added to that, Dennis, or any comments from the Board of Selectmen?
I would just like to highlight a couple of things. Hugh has done a good job in preparing this budget calendar using, precedent from last year's budget process, and we are both new to this process, so Kasia helped us and guided us in this, but we added a couple of things to enhance the transparency and help the public be part of this process a little bit more. And you'll notice on September 9th, we're proposing that the board develop its goals and objectives in a work session so that we can tie some goals to how we're gonna spend money or how the board would create their spending plan for the year. And this would be an hour, we're hoping for an hour, where the board would decide how they want to say, we're spending this money to achieve these goals and objectives for the coming year. And then also you'll notice down later under October 8th, we are highlighting the period October 29th to November 24th to give each one of you, including you, Georgia, police judge, the opportunity to meet with staff individually if you have questions about the budget. So if you don't want to ask your question or something pops into your mind at the last minute and you want to come in and have a one-on-one with us and ask about a specific item in the budget, we'll give you that opportunity so that you don't have to ask in a budget work session, or if you just want some more detail about something. And I think that is a very important item because sometimes you just don't think of it, or we get into a discussion about a specific budget item and maybe it skips your mind, but we want to have that open and free for all discussion for the budget. So we're asking that you adopt this budget calendar this evening. We're going to publish this so that the community knows what your plan is going forward with the budget cycle.
I think this probably covers it, and some of the changes that I'm anticipating that you're gonna be making to this whole budget process. And not to be repetitive or redundant of what you just stated, however, in the past, we haven't had the opportunity to meet as a board with the individual departments as we're going through the process. It's been compiled and presented and streamlined, as I would anticipate that you would do anyway with the department heads. But I think as we're reviewing them in the, before it goes for final approval, aside from these meetings, that if it's parks, we've got the parks guy here talking about it, if type thing. So even though one-on-one, there might be some questions, I would hate for any department head to have to sit and go through 6 meetings for us all to ask basically the same question, where we might be able to just bang that out. Oh, okay, this is the project, we just have some questions. And just to streamline that, I think that would be beneficial for us. To those who've been in the process before, Alex, I know you haven't had a wonderful opportunity to join us on this further, but.
I think I kind of understand what you said, but maybe.
So that we all meet with each department
So when road and
together,
bridges,
so
so
we're
when
not.
we're looking at road and bridges, numbers and projects, that it's not just a document in front of us with some abbreviated, items that the representative from Road and Bridge is here for us to be able to say, tell us a little bit more about this. Now, perhaps we've already outlined that in our budget goals and, ahead of time, but when it comes down to those questions, rather than putting it on the town treasurer to get back to that person to come back to us.
Okay, so, yeah, here's how, yes, so here's the way I do it. So once the budget worksheets go out to our department directors or our staff people that are responsible for certain things, they will put this all together and then Q and I are gonna sit down with them and grill them and make sure that we understand what they're proposing or ask them questions. Why can't we do this too? Or we're gonna really kind of delve into this so that everything is, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's really, we've done our due diligence in this room before you see it, but once you get it, they're gonna be sitting right there so they can ask, you can ask all those questions, which is going to those work sessions. Because I'm not gonna sit there and say, I know everything about, installing all those sprinkler systems that Kevin wants to do in that park. And then when Q's talking about the administrative budget, what that's gonna mean with wages and the cost of living adjustments that he's applying to this. Absolutely, they're all gonna be here and they're gonna have to sit on the hot seat and answer your questions. I'm not gonna be the only one to do that. Everybody's gonna share the pain.
It's fun now.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's all.
Okay,
So all I
sorry.
want is that opportunity to have that dialogue, and I think it'll streamline it for the departments, just so that we're not having the
Absolutely.
same question 6 times.
Absolutely, and I still think that that's important, so after that work session, even if you have that staff person sitting there answering your questions. If you leave and say, I'd like a little bit more time with that person and ask a few more questions, we'll schedule that time so we can have that one-on-one. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve the 2026 budget cycle calendar?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Amanda. Any abstentions? Thank you. That calendar is passed, so I guess we gotta get all those dates in our calendar. And now we're gonna move on to item number 7. Dennis, this is the IGA discussion that was added to our agenda.
Yes, I let you know, I communicated that we received notice from the county sheriff's office that when the current IGA for law enforcement services expires at the end of this month, the September 1, I think is the deadline. They've notified us that they will no longer be providing service for the minimum 18 hours of patrol services, that they will be offering us a new IGA that would be for calls for service only. So I talked about it briefly with Jerry, and we are of the mind that offering a contract for calls for service, which they would be doing anyway, isn't in the interest of the city to be paying for. So I was just looking for some discussion this evening among the board members and also some direction to the staff going forward, and also to remind you that they are using vehicles, and so we would have to either not repo those, but actually get those back from the county sheriff's office, and we would have to pursue that towards the end of the month. So it's not really a lot of time to work on that and prepare for that, and so I thought, instead of waiting until August 26th, your next meeting, which would give us about 4 days to do that, I thought it urgent for us to get that on the agenda and hear your thoughts tonight.
I have a question. Are any of the other municipalities paying calls for service to the sheriff's department in Clear Creek County?
Not that I know of, and
Not that I know of, no.
So statutorily, we are, and this has been discussed in the past, they're obligated to provide services to us. And we have no obligation to pay them in addition to everyone who contributes to our county portion of our taxes.
And the dynamic there is, well, what level of service?
Right.
And I, in anticipation of tonight, because I got the email from Peter Lickman, County Attorney, saying exactly what Dennis said, and saying that he was gonna provide a draft IGA, for our review that would have us paying for the calls for services and the associated reporting and record keeping. And so I had a conversation with Joe Rivera, who's especially adept at that, having prosecuted her in the DA's office in Adams County and in Denver. And the answer is this: the sheriff's department has the authority, the power, of course, to write tickets for state offenses that take place in town. They've got the power to receive reports. If my house is burgled, I call them up and say, I'd like to come out and take a report. They've got the power to come out and take a report, but they do not have the obligation to come out and take that report. They can say, come on down to the sheriff's office, you can fill out an incident report. And, it'll go on that big stack of incidents reports that we might be getting around to the unincorporated ones first. In terms of responding calls for service, undoubtedly they'll respond to 911 calls. And they can't charge us for that when they show up. They can't charge us if we had a police department, they wouldn't be charging us when they show up kind of on a mutual aid support basis, would they? And if we don't have one and there's a 911 call and they show up, they're not gonna be able to charge us. But I'm taking the time to answer your question to make certain we understand that, well, they've got the obligation to provide the same level of service and for free, and that the answer is no. They'll show up for 911 calls, for emergencies that are called in them, they're not gonna ignore that. But their obligation to function in the way they have is only a contract obligation. So we won't see the same kind of patrols, obviously. If a citizen calls and says, I want to make a report, they may or may not take it over the phone, they may say, come on down. But they're not gonna send an officer out necessarily, they're not obliged. Send an officer out in the same way with the number of hours we've contracted for. Today, they would have to. So it's just gonna be no question, a significant decrease in level of service, really down to more emergency level things.
So what would the RGA provide for it, that they're offline?
All I have is the one paragraph email I got from Peter Lichtman, but I believe that probably they'll say, if I were to write it, when your citizens call, when there are calls for service, whether they're emergency or not, we will respond and we'll charge you X bucks for each one of those. And we will keep the records of it and we'll do the record keeping and reporting, because we'll take a police report and we have to keep track of that. And it will be X dollars for that kind of service. I'll be curious to see if they try to layer in, and if it's a 911 call and there's, murder going on in progress, will we get charged for that? I'm being facetious,
Yeah.
but the point is, that's, I think, what I'm guessing will be in this draft IG, and I'll get it to you as soon as I get it. But I appreciate what Dennis is saying, which is, if it's not, we're not gonna move forward on that basis, knowing now, so that we can prepare for the end of the month as well.
Historically, police departments have required people to come in and make a station report when it's not an active call under certain circumstances. And I believe even now, with the current IGA, there are times when the call goes to a voicemail and is followed up perhaps the following week when someone is back available. So we don't necessarily have that level in every case now, and we wouldn't be out of line with other municipalities where if I have a situation that happened a week ago and I make the report, that I'm gonna be required to go in and fill that out. I think technology allows for some of that also, so there's still the opportunity to make the record without having someone necessarily appear at your doorstep.
Like that's fair, and so I think there will be service, but at a lower level.
So when were you notified? When did you receive the notification from Peter Lichtman?
I got it today, this afternoon.
Did our
Amanda?
IGA not have language in it that required a 30-day termination clause? To be clear, I have not gone back and dug up the original
Yes, it does.
IGA because this all happened like in the last 24 hours. But I think that the IGA, the original one, had a termination clause. I would be concerned first off that the sheriff's office, and I'm going to be clear, I've been so team sheriff's office, as most of you know, throughout this entire process, because I have felt very strongly that they're the strongest conduit to stability for the community, for the quicker and easier option for law enforcement services. And I am incredibly disappointed that this is that that we get like the 2 weeks notice, like we're a Haagen-Dazs. Like, and you're just like, hey, I'm quitting my summer job. Like this is not fair to our stakeholders in the slightest. I do respect the fact that the sheriff's office is in a staffing predicament, but I would expect a little bit more professionalism as long as this is, the information that's being shared at this moment is accurate. And I do respect, Jerry, that you are being accurate with us. With that being said, my questions are this. Number one, does this mean the sheriffs are withdrawing their proposal to the town? Because if you can't even do this, how are you going to do a contract where you're fulfilling an entire law enforcement need for a community of 1,300 people, 1,200 people? You can't, if you can't handle this for another month and a half while we're at the finish line, what are we saying to the citizens of our town? And I also have a concern that this is going to virtue signal to our citizens that they're kind of being left in the dust, and that's not fair to them. So, I mean, if this is where the sheriff's office has to take action because of their own staffing needs and their own issues, I certainly respect that. But I would have a lot more respect for them saying we need to cut back patrol hours. We can't do patrol hours at this, and you guys need 30 days as opposed to 2 weeks notice. And then the possibility that the statutory needs are going to be met at the bare minimum. It's a super disappointing turn of events in my purview.
Two things. I think you're right about the 30 days. I remember, I don't have the agreement in front of me, but if it says that, then they're short.
I believe that we had that in there. And I haven't had time to dig it up.
Dennis looked at it and says it is. The other thing from Peter's message, which I should have printed out and brought, but it was really quite short, beyond saying, hey, we're not going to continue past September 1. I'll send you a draft for this charge by the incident, basically, or by the call for service. He did say, I think it was 1 or 2 sentences, it's pretty short. We in part, we are doing this because we do not believe that the discussions on a long-term agreement have proceeded or been productive enough, and for us to, and we would need to be able to hire staff. He signaled that, I think, to be able to continue to provide the kind of service that we're negotiating for would require them to hire, and they would want to hire another deputy, and they didn't see that as emerging in the discussions apparently that have been going on. So that was in his message too. If I printed it, I could have just read it to you, but that was the sense of it.
I can appreciate that at the time that we initially went into the IGA was then back in December of 2024. It appeared that it was going to be for a shorter term, and we were looking to make sure that we had ample law enforcement services in our community. And I appreciate that the sheriff's office, offered what they did to a degree. I support repoing our vehicles. I support not continuing with an IGA based on the information that you're sharing. But I don't want to disregard the fact that we established a task force to evaluate this situation. And our last meeting, we had received the information as of the moment, and we're putting something together, and we haven't come to that formal conclusion to recommend it to the board. So I don't want to devalue that commission, that task force, by taking some.
Everybody in this conversation
at this time.
to stakeholders. I'm sorry, Mary, it's hard for me to hear if I was, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Everyone in this conversation has made commitments to the people of this community. We had to hire a town administrator. That is an important gap of time. And I understand, and I respect the fact that I also don't want to devalue the sheriff's office for their overall contribution, because I've been consistently impressed by the professionalism and the decency of the deputies and how hard they're working when they are responding to our calls. But I'm just a little disheartened that instead of even coming to the board directly, it was an email, a one paragraph email, because our discussions aren't moving in the right way. We're this close. And yet the commission is split. That is a fact. We can't change the fact that the commission is split. Or at least it was. I don't know. Yeah, their task force, excuse me. Thank you for correcting that. But we promised our community that time to review these things and to make a valuable decision that had a long-term impact. And I do respect the fact that they're in a time crunch, but this is 30 days would have made a big difference.
So Dennis, if we have 30 days in our contract, if that's in the IG, that would be 30 days from September 1?
No, 30 days from when they gave written notice.
30
Was
days from when they
today.
gave notice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
okay.
do we need to explore that language so we're sure that it's in there?
Yeah.
And then do we want to wait and see what this offer is? We are kind of in a very tough situation, as everybody's pointed out, because if we don't move forward with what they want, we're gonna go to a situation where, hey, we're gonna answer 911 calls and everything else is up for grabs. I agree that this really puts the county at a disadvantage in our task force discussions because of the way this is handled and whatnot. So does the board want to wait to get confirmation on the 30 days, and then we would have to go back, correct, to Peter Lichtman and say something?
Let me make a suggestion.
Yeah,
In light of the fact that it was communicated to Dennis and to me, I'm inclined that, tonight when I get home, I'll send an email back to Peter saying, okay, I've received your email. And we'll certainly receive any draft you want to send me and I'll bring it to the board's attention. But I'll draw your attention, Peter, to the IGA we have, which is a 30-day notice. And if we need that notice, if you're actually going to terminate the services. So I need a notice from you, if you're gonna do that, that is current notice, and we will hold the county to providing the service for 30 days from the date of the notice. And that means it's September, the middle of September. And then that's what it is. And please confirm that you agree, or you understand that that's the IGA contract obligation. That gets you another few weeks, and it also lets you see what it is that they're proposing. But I think in fairness, what they're proposing doesn't really move forward from, really is not embedded in what the task force discussions have been.
Right.
It's much more narrow than that, kind of a piecework kind of, which is not a pejorative. I mean, that's what they're saying, that, in the interest of time, that's what we'll do. So at a minimum, we can get, I think, service for a full 30 days from when we get some kind of formal notice from them. I'll bring the draft to you, but that's much less, I think, than what the task force and others have talked about.
right, but it may be all we have at this moment. Do we need, anybody have any comments on what Jerry just said?
I don't have any comments in that respect, but I would like to kind of add something to the melting pot. The current big beautiful bill by the current administration has just allocated $170 billion to Homeland Security. And there are adverts out there offering sign-on bonuses for 50 grand. And the suggestion that I have read is that many law enforcement officers would be very interested in signing up for that program. And I think that we need to kind of consider what happens if our existing support from the current service offered completely collapses on the basis they don't actually have any person to offer us. So I might have mentioned, no, who was it who mentioned that there was a possibility that the reason for this termination of the current IGA was because they might need to employ another deputy. I'm not sure that that's necessarily the true situation. I suspect the true situation is that they're anticipating they're going to lose a number of personnel
Quite
to
possible,
Homeland Security.
quite possible. Thank you for that comment. Should we move forward as Jerry has suggested? Do you need a motion, Jerry, or do we
I
just
don't.
agree?
I don't think so.
Okay, I think
You
we
know,
just move
we've
forward.
gotten this email that advises us of stuff. We've got contract rights, which I'm, I think
Right,
obligated and certainly motivated to assert on behalf of
of course.
of the town. So I'll do that and
Okay.
I'll communicate back to the board everything I learned and get that obviously right away as opposed to having to wait till after. the next
Yeah,
meeting.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Police judge, I'm so
Everyone-
sorry. I'm sorry that
Yeah.
I'm not there, by the way, because of my kids. If I could say one more thing, I think it's very important that we do, as this pivots, I don't like the position that we're in, but I also don't want people in our town to feel like we are not looking out for them in this regard. And I know this is going to be tricky as it unfolds, but I don't want us to virtue signal to the people in this community that we're just like, well, good luck. Hope
Oh,
everybody's
yeah, right.
okay. Because this is really important and it's been hot button for a year now. And I think we have to be open to diplomatic conversations. And again, I have a lot of respect for the sheriffs and what they've done, but I am a little bit salty that this is the method and the path at the moment. But I don't want people in Georgetown to think that we're just gonna let it ride. 'Cause
Thank
that's not-
you.
I have a question. When's when is the commission gonna be ready for a recommendation?
The task force.
That's-
Yeah.
Well, we were getting ready to put something on the next agenda, at the
Oh.
next, the agenda for the next board meeting.
Right.
Good.
However, I can't. I don't feel that we can ignore this situation at this point, and as much as we love to have meetings, I think the task force needs to
I do.
have the opportunity to review this in light of the situation. And wrap things up and
It's
that allows, some time to, for Jerry to get some information together and for Dennis to have some conversations, and that can be brought to the task force, but I do think we need to meet now, and we can't keep kicking this can
No.
down either way.
That's right.
So.
I would also like clarification, and I don't know if that's a Dennis or a Jerry clarification as to whether or not the sheriff's office is still willing to honor the initial presentation that they gave to the commission. I mean,
I
I
can
don't
answer that tonight. I've had that conversation and they are.
know. Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. So Jerry, we're gonna have you move forward as discussed, and thank you for that. Thank you for your comments. It's very disappointing. And the task force will have to consider this as well. So our last action item on the agenda item is number 8. Dennis, for the consideration of a fire ban.
Thank you. Section 8.16 dash or dot 020 Georgetown Municipal Code says that the town marshal is hereby authorized to declare and implement a fire ban applicable within the municipal boundaries of the town upon his or her determination that one or more of the following condition exists. When the Clear Creek County implements a fire ban and or stage 2 fire restrictions, which is in place, in the event the town marshal determines in his or her reasonable judgment that temperature, wind, drive, fuel source, lightning, or other conditions have resulted in a higher level of fire danger, requiring imposition of fire ban restrictions, or number 3, when directed by the town administrator to impose fire ban restrictions. Since the town does not have a police marshal, and if I am asking that the Board of Selectmen impose the fire ban by moving to impose the fire ban until such time as the town administrator rescinds such order seeking.
Do I
Make that motion.
And do I have a second?
Second. Got it.
All those in favor?
I'm,
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. So Dennis, move forward with the fire ban. That's great. Thank you very much.
Someone was doing open burning almost down by the fire station this
I've
week.
seen a couple of them.
I just
So
like, we need to, the questions always come up, especially from this community, well, doesn't make any difference what community. You know, what can they and can't they do? Can they have a barbecue? Can they have a gas fire pit? So please, let's provide some education to them and set that up, because especially since we don't have anyone to field those calls at the police department level, and you don't need, Dennis, your staff inundated with, you know, some of this, even though people will call, but let's at least have that information.
Boulder posted something. that was
Everywhere,
on The
everywhere.
news, if we had that same,
We posted the fire ban with the instructions on it, but we can do additional stuff.
Yeah,
And put it
it
in
had-
social
it
media,
had
you
pictures.
should read that, put it on
What
the
about like
board.
this? What about the sign up we did at the roundabout, that when it's that bad?
I think that's a great idea,
Then maybe people coming up.
you know, and at least put their, give it, you
Maybe
know,
to the, maybe to Circle K and the
Yeah.
Georgetown Market and wherever people shop for firewood, because they're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fire Chief Vivian and I have had that conversation, and one other thing I wanted to add to this. He brought up the fact that we have to go through this process because, most other communities have an ordinance already in place that is an automatic, we follow the county sheriff when they make this order. So he would like us to consider changing our ordinance so that when the county sheriff enacts a fire ban based on the recommendation of the fire authority, that we have an ordinance that already says we automatically go with the sheriff when they enact that. So we're gonna look at that along with these lists of here's what you can and can't do and make it very public so that people understand what the rules are.
Thank you.
the next agenda will have a code change for our fire ban.
Yeah.
Yay.
It never stops.
Yeah. And so I do not have a police judge report, and so no, we'll go to the Board of Selectmen. Mary, do you have anything?
We've covered a lot of things with BPC, don't want to be redundant, but just to throw out there that we do have some vacancies on the commission, and it doesn't have to be a business merchant. So I'd like to get the word out there that we're looking for some interested people.
Thank you. Rich,
I don't have anything to report. I think next Monday, we have a meeting with the county folks.
right,
Determine what they're gonna put on the ballot for unincorporated Fairfield County to fund the fire department.
thank you. Alex,
I have nothing to report.
very good. Dwayne?
Nothing, we haven't had a meeting, our next meeting is this Monday.
Okay, and Amanda, online, anything to report?
tomorrow morning is the Clear Creek Economic Development, group meets over, or the coalition meets in Blackhawk tomorrow from 9 to 12. First day of school for Clear Creek kids is tomorrow, so that's super fun. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Next up, town attorney report?
A couple of things, I'm working on a raft of agreements on the Bighorn project, that are in process, none of them for this agenda, but likely for the next. There's that park donation matter, as well, they're, putting together the materials that I've asked them to do on the, water lease that, supports the water supply and in Bighorn project, and we're being very cooperative on that, putting together what I asked them to put together. And I'm vetting that now, and we've gone through a couple drafts. So pretty soon there'll be something on your agenda for that. Related to that, you'll remember the one person that came in and successfully got the hospitality unit restriction taken off. There was an outreach to the other 6 owners, but only one of them responded. And I've given a lot of thought to, can we make this process, really Dennis's suggestion, less painful, so that we just have another hearing and get it all done. And I'm assembling an approach that I think the town could be the applicant for. and I haven't completely filled it out yet.
Okay.
But I wanna make sure I recognize the rights of all the property owners here, you don't change the plat notes on somebody's property without their consent or at least their knowledge. Here, it's to their benefit and really in their interest and in the hotel's interest. But I wanna put together a program that I think will, survive scrutiny and save us all the heartache of having to do these one thing at a time. And especially when one of these owners gets ready to sell and they realize there's this restriction and there's a hurry up, I need this off so I can market my property kind of thing. I wanna avoid that. So I'm working on that. That's all I've got.
Well, thank you very much.
Yep.
Kasia, can we do the town clerk and your report at the same time, just in the interest of time? Great, thank you.
Question on that though?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Since we're removing, since it appears that will be considering removing that. Wording from. Their property, their restrictions or whatever. Then. Those property owners, if they choose to. Put their property on the STRs. How is that? Does that have any implication?
No, there's a separate plat note and we've made all of them very aware of this. There's a separate plat note that says no STRs in Bighorn. It's not available for you. They're not eligible at all. And that's a separate plat note that we will not be changing. And that was negotiated with the Bighorn development at the outset.
Right, so I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
we have that
Yeah, that
covered.
stays on. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And they occasionally they'll forget that, the messaging on that will have to be continuous, as people still will show up downstairs. You know, and wanna apply, but staff wise, we know that we politely tell them. You're in Bighorn and you're simply not eligible to file an application.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Kasia? Town clerk report and then your assistant town administrative report, we might as well do both of those.
Bridget this week has been working on accessing our social media. She did successfully access the town Facebook, but she's still trying to get into our visitor page and our Instagram. And there's some weird glitches where she needs to reach out to Meta directly to get those fixed. She's also been working on a short-term rental license, liquor permits for Mothers and J's on 6th Street, and then of course minutes. And that's despite the fact that she had sort of a medical emergency, so. Yay, Bridget. For my stuff, you have that report in your packet. Does anyone have any questions on it?
I did not. Does anyone have any questions for Kasia?
The pedestrian bridge at 9th Street,
Mm-hmm.
is that closer to 9th and Rose? I'm trying to think of where.
It's where the old school is. There's
That's
a
where-
big
by Taos?
blockade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where a bridge used to exist, and I believe it was originally a vehicular bridge, but what we were asking for were quotes on pedestrian bridges there.
but you can still access that, you can still cross over the,
Not at 9th Street.
No, no.
is that 9? Oh, that, I'm thinking more at 8th, okay. All right. That's why I wanted to clarify, thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Kasia?
Can we clarify that a fire ban also includes fireworks?
It does say that specifically in the fire ban notice, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kasia. Okay, Q, town treasurer.
I was still working with Lorraine and Mayberry on our audit, pulling invoices from last year. Working through that. About it.
What is, are you anticipating to receive that from her on a date? Does she give you a date certain on that audit final report?
What's the extension date
The
now?
extension date
September
was
30th.
September 30th. We asked for, we could have it by first week of September. And they said that they not guarantee.
Okay, thank you.
We threatened to cancel the contract with them and they have been remarkably more responsive than they have since.
Yes.
Yikes.
And then our next meeting, will we be having the fund balance, the quarterly, well, they're not quarterly.
That's what we're aiming for, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Q. Any questions for Q? Comments? Thank you, Q. All right, Dennis, the town administrator report, and
Okay.
you have a handout here.
I do?
Then, is this for me?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought, I'm sorry. In highlights of the handout, I wanted to, make the highlight, as you can imagine, most of our time the last week and a half has been spent helping to right-size the utility to ensure that things there, especially of a sensitive nature, are being, taken care of, and that has been an all hands on deck, issue. Right now, as you can see, we have, enforcement activity going on with the crazy course. We originally had an inspection for August 5th scheduled, but because the property owner has had their engineers experiencing a family illness, they requested that be rescheduled for September 17th. And so we expect that to be an interior and exterior inspection. That information from that inspection then will be used, and Jerry and I will be proceeding through the court process for the enforcement activity there. So you'll be hearing more after the 17th and how that turns out with the assistance of Safe Built. I am glad to say that I had a really good meeting with County Administrator Brian Bosshart last week, and we talked about a lot of cooperative initiatives that the two of us are excited about pursuing. And you can see I gave a quick list of some of those things that we discussed, but there was a long list. We spent probably a good 2 hours talking about things that the county and the town of Georgetown can cooperate on. An exciting little things going on. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet Jason and Angela from Neitzel and Anderson, but Jason is a budding drone operator, and he has asked the town for permission to do a drone flyover of his building so that he can use that for marketing purposes for his business. And so on Thursday afternoon, probably around noon, it depends all on the sun, he is going to be using the drone that he has to do a flyover down around his building. He has been asked to provide signage around that area, so anybody that is walking on 6th Street in that vicinity will see that a drone is going to be flying. I've also run that by Kelly and the county sheriff's office so that they know what's going on and both say that that is okay with them. If the weather does not cooperate, then Jason will ask for another date and we will let you know when that's happening too. The possibilities of using the drone are endless, and so we were also exploring using those for maybe the Christmas market, so I've let Mary know that that's possible, and also for any other marketing of the downtown area or other special events. So that's exciting. I also want to remind you that you have the work session at your next meeting for the code of conduct discussion. You will be receiving materials for that ahead of time, so you have a chance to review those and ask questions before the meeting. And then I wanted to let you know that we have contacted Ramey, which is an O&M operator for water and sewer facilities. And they are going to be coming into our facility on Thursday and work with Eric about where they can fill in the gaps in terms of staff support and also operation management. They have a level B certification while we now have only a level C, and we need to have a level B to be in compliance with state regs. And so we are going to be working with them to get a possible proposal for operation management services. And then if we find that acceptable, that would be coming to you in an emergency contract situation. And we're working with Jerry to get that in place as fast as possible, because we think this is a very important situation. So if I can answer any questions, I'd be glad to.
Any questions for Dennis? Any comments? Great, well, thank you. Thank you all for the meeting and the time, and let's see, it is what time is it?
I move to adjourn.
7:53. Thank you, Mary, a second.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Amanda, thank you for joining.
Sorry I was late.
Yeah,
I know, right.
he's throwing water.